Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we've got a special guest for you. We're going to be joined by the CEO of BitDigital. This is one of the few Bitcoin mining companies that we haven't covered extensively on the channel. Really looking forward to this chat, but before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of BTBT, what your thoughts are on their business model and their big AI contract moving into next year, and your outlook in terms of price target for next year's halving event. Now with that being said, let's get into today's interview. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we've got Sam Tabar. He's the CEO of BitDigital. Now this is one of the few miners that we haven't covered on the channel. Sam and I were just discussing that before we flipped on the camera here. We're looking forward to covering BitDigital more extensively in 2024. But Sam, it's great to have you on before the holidays, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, hey, first things first, since it's your first time on here, we want to hear a little bit about your background. So can you give us a high-level summary of who you are, how you ended up at BitDigital, and just kind of a high-level overview of the company?
Sure. I mean, as for myself, I started my career as a lawyer at Skadden Arps, a law firm in New York. And then I headed capital strategy for Bank of America Merrill Lynch for a number of years. I was responsible for their entire Asia-Pacific region. I then co-founded a blockchain company called Fluidity. We invented a concept called a decentralized exchange. It was a very popular decentralized exchange. It went viral. We were also the first ones to tokenize Manhattan real estate. That became a topic. An article was published in the Harvard Business Review, and we ended up selling the company to Consensus by Joe Lubin, who's one of the co-founders of Ethereum. I then joined BitDigital as an executive. I'm currently CEO of BitDigital. We're a NASDAQ listed company. Our ticker is BTBT. We run a number of different locations across the United States, Canada, and Iceland. And we've recently introduced a very material business in AI that gives us certainty of revenues. There's no halving event happening in AI. So we have now basically a massive AI business where people can see the certainty of revenue. And we are, in a sense, a Bitcoin option, a call option. So no matter where Bitcoin goes, we're going to do extremely well.
Yeah, it's a really interesting background, both yourself and the company. And I feel like BitDigital has done a great job of differentiating itself and really hardening the business going into halving. So that's where I wanted to start things. You guys put out a news release or a press release maybe a week or week and a half ago about this big $35 million AI customer contract. It didn't get the same uptake as maybe some of the other press releases, and I really feel this is a major development and catalyst for the organization. Both Anthony and I have talked about that in our podcast as well. So Sam, why don't you walk us through that and tell us what it really means for BitDigital?
Yeah, I share your confusion. We were puzzled that we didn't get the same credit and acknowledgement, given that this is not just an announcement on an aspiration, but we actually have an anchor client and we actually have a real significant business. And we're providing computational power from about 1,500 GPUs. The contract is for over 3 years. And that contract alone represents $35 million in annualized revenue. And we've purchased 1,500 NVIDIA H100s. We've actually already delivered the first batch to Iceland, where the data center, a tier 3 data center, is hosting our H100s there. And our initial fleet will be running by early Jan, and we'll be spitting out revenues in January. This is just in a few weeks, and we'll be announcing those revenues in our monthly updates every month, and that should start as of January. And that contract, in terms of megawatts, that represents about 2.5 megawatts. You don't need as much power to power AI machines as you do Bitcoin mining equipment. And we have that capacity for 3 years. Our anchor customer is leasing our AI service to power their large language models. So it's really great to be in this position because the client and other clients who we're speaking to are trying to upsize the deal. And so 35 million represents the very base case, and we can go up by quite a bit, by many multiples. And that more than covers our day. And no matter where Bitcoin is, we're going to do extraordinarily well. And we thought that was the right way to position ourselves before the halving, because there's no halving event happening in AI. So we have this certainty of massive revenue. And if Bitcoin goes up, that's fantastic. We have a sizable fleet, we'll go up. If Bitcoin goes down, that's totally fine. We're going to be doing very well anyway with the AI side of the business.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to see this industry evolve. I've been following the Bitcoin miners for a couple of years now, and it's great to see that the business models you guys have built and worked so hard, and the infrastructure you've put together is now lending itself so nicely to these HPC and AI opportunities, seemingly at a perfect time, right? As there's uncertainty in Bitcoin price and halving and supply and all the rest. So I think that's
right.
A great move. I'm glad we got to talk about it, and definitely a solid source of revenue, like you say, as a base case for the business. Now, you also mentioned your Bitcoin, your self-mining, so I wanted to talk about that. Now, you saw a nice increase. I'm going to quote 24% month over month in November, just shy of 143, I think 142.7 Bitcoin. So that's super impressive. Obviously, network difficulty is going up, global hash rate's going up, but because of these extra fees or transaction fees, the Bitcoin miners have been doing really well. So maybe tell us a little bit about that side of your business now.
I mean, it's quite possible, given that we have increased hash rate during the month and that transaction fees have been considerably higher in December. So we do see continuing high transaction fees. Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, and tell us a little bit about your self-mining business. How do you see this in relation to the AI component?
Well, we continue to expand our fleet. We will get to 3.5 exahash by the end of Q1. We'll be announcing our year-end goals on exahash expansion sometime early in the year. But now we're executing on a 3.5 exahash. And again, we put our energies in making sure that we are perfectly positioned before the halving. No matter what happens, we're immune to any negative potential circumstance on the halving. Remember, we don't have the strategy of, we hope that Bitcoin goes up for us to do business. Like we don't think hope is a great business strategy. It'll be great if Bitcoin goes up. We believe that Bitcoin's going to go up, but nobody crystal ball on that. So in order to position yourself for the halving, you got to lock in and crystallize amazing non-correlated revenue, which is what we've done.
Yeah, for sure. Now, speaking of having, great kind of segue to the next question. In my discussions with all these CEOs, we're starting to see a divergence. Some companies are really steadfast in their HODL strategy. Others are really looking at this more as a commodity, similar to a gold or silver mining operation, and just selling production as they peel it off. What's Bit Digital's stance, and what do you have any like HODL goals or a threshold going into the halving that you'd like to have in the bank?
Well, look, we're long-term believers that in Bitcoin, we think structurally it'll go up. There'll be a lot of cyclical gyrations. People have to remember the Warren, be fearful when everybody's greedy, be greedy when everybody's fearful. So of course, Bitcoin's going up a lot, and I do believe in the long-term upside in Bitcoin. It will eventually replace, I believe, gold as a way to hedge inflation bets. This is digital gold. It's a much better proxy for inflation than that yellow metal. But so we think that Bitcoin will go up, and we do have a HODL strategy, although we do sell from time to time in order to fund our expansion, including on AI and, of course, just ongoing operations. But we have to just be careful. Again, I don't mean to repeat myself. You just got to run the business in a way that's responsible, and it's not speculative. And the way we've done that is by becoming this business where we get that locked in revenue and we become basically a call option on Bitcoin if it goes up.
Yeah. Well, and from a retail investment standpoint, it's nice to have that stability and that certainty in revenue regardless of the price. I think most people watching this channel are bullish long-term on Bitcoin, but like you said, we don't have no idea where the price will be tomorrow, let alone halving or next year. So the other thing I wanted to pick your brain on, Sam, this is another one that's kind of been a source of a lot of comments and discussion and interview topics, but there's been a kind of a debate that the large miners have a better advantage because they've got the balance sheet strength, the size, the M&A opportunities, all the rest. The other side of the fence says, well, actually, the small miners have the advantage because they're more nimble, they're agile, they can take more care kind of monitoring their operations. And we've now seen almost some money starting to shift from the larger miners that have had big runs into some of the mid-tier or smaller miners. What's your thought there? What do you think is really the advantage of being kind of your size and scale?
Well, with respect to the balance sheet, we have over 70 million on our balance sheet. We have absolutely no debt. Our balance sheet is pristine. And so we do have really good capital with respect to expansion, although we are very judicious in our balance sheet. But I think one of the key advantages when you're small is you can be really nimble. And I think that's very important. Geographical and counterparty diversification is super key. If you have all your assets and all your eggs in one location or one jurisdiction, you can get that could go really wrong really quickly. You don't know what kind of black swan event you'll be dealing with. So we're pretty careful on that. And that's why we have about 6 counterparties across 3 different countries. There was a time when, a lot of Bitcoin miners were in China. We had a lot of our fleet in China. We moved that before the announcement of the Bitcoin mining ban. And that was fortunate. We did that because we felt that was a big jurisdictional risk to just have so much of the fleet in China. So fortunately, we moved that before the announcement. But you just never know where the politics can go. Like it or not, there's a lot of politics when it comes to Bitcoin mining. There are a lot of politicians out there that would love to see it banned. And so it's really important to have that diversification across different countries and in different jurisdictions, just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah, so, it is a very contentious issue in politics right now, for sure.
That's right. I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes an election issue.
Yeah, I think the same. And we've talked about some of the political reach that Bitcoin now has. Obviously great for overall adoption, and it's nice these people are even talking about it, but there's definitely people out there that have kind of mixed agendas. Maybe I'll leave it at that. But
to say the least. Great.
Yeah, nice way to say it. Now, we've covered a lot here, and Bit Digital is definitely one I'm seeing more and more in the comments. People are wanting more information, more coverage. So aside from the AI component, we've talked about the self-mining, the diversified risk, the geographical diversification. I also saw a note, I was going to bring this up, but Iceland, they've had some volcanic activity. None of your operations were impacted or anticipated to be impacted, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. There's been no interruption from an operational perspective in Iceland for us.
Gotcha. Now, aside from what we've already kind of covered, I wanted to give you the opportunity, because it's your first time here. Is there anything else we should know about Bit Digital, or anything maybe that the general media is kind of missing out on right now?
Well, I guess the point is we're exceptionally well positioned for the halving. No matter what happens, we're immune and we'll do really well. We built a very efficient fleet that spans across 3 different countries and 6 different locations. We're sustainable. We're 99% carbon free, not carbon neutral. Carbon neutral is very different. Carbon free is where you want to be. We've maintained a pristine balance sheet. We have 0 debt. We've created a non-correlated revenue stream with the AI infrastructure. And we've also created a diversified revenue stream with Ethereum staking. We take some of the Bitcoin that we've made, we put some of that in Ethereum, and we stake that Ethereum. The yield that we capture from the staking, we put back into Bitcoin mining operations. So that's the business model that we've invented. So we have this really well-positioned, small, nimble company that continues to grow its fleet. It's been undiscovered by most of the capital markets. I'm really glad to be on this show. Hopefully we could solve that problem.
That's our mission. That's our goal. My New Year's resolution for you, Sam, is to get you guys on the map. Now, we really appreciate your time today. There's obviously a ton of excitement in the general Bitcoin community and for a lot of the miners, which is nice to see. We kind of saw a disconnect between Bitcoin miner stock price and Bitcoin price for a while, which was driving me nuts, keeping me up at night, Sam. So I'm glad to see that's back correlated. But
Same.
yeah. I was like, my Bitcoin thesis is correct, but my investment portfolio is going down. What gives here? But hey, it's been great talking to you. I'll let you have the last word here, but we appreciate your time. Company's doing great, and congrats on all the success.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you.